Hello, everybody. Thank you very much for watching. My name is Bram Wolfs. I'm from the Netherlands. You can find me on Twitter at Bram Wolfs or on my blog site, bramwolfs.com. Besides TeamRGE, I'm also a member of numerous other community programs. So TeamRGE, we are a group of people that have a shared interest in remote graphics solutions. You will see a lot of them speaking in this virtual event. So what's on the agenda for this presentation? I'm going to talk about the Connection Experience Indicator. It's a tool I created to notify users about changes in the user experience. How you can use the Connection Experience Indicator. I will also show you some demos and where you can get it. So what is the Connection Experience Indicator? It's a free tool. It's a single executable. You can just download it and run it with a login script or GPO or any other mechanism you are using. You run this tool inside of the virtual desktop. There's not on the client, on the virtual desktop. It will launch when a user logs in and runs on the background. It has a very small footprint. It's a tool that's integrated in the taskbar. On the print screens over here, you can see a small icon which will display a green thumbs up when the connection is good, and will show a warning or a poor connection, thumbs down, when there's something wrong in the connection. The tool can be configured with parameters. I will show you that in a later slide, which parameters there are. So the tool will display notifications to the user. It's integrated in the Windows 10 notification center, so it looks very familiar to users when there's something, some notification that needs their attention. So it will show notifications about the latency, and it will show notifications about the available bandwidth. It's very important also to show when there's a good connection, so users can see, okay, my connection is good. And when, for example, their application is slow or there's something wrong with their virtual desktop, yeah, they can see, okay, my connection is good, so there must be something else wrong. Okay, so eventually it will also help reduce the number of help desk calls, because yeah, people see like, okay, there's something wrong with my connection. I will move to another Wi-Fi connection or move my client to another room or do something with the connection to make it work better. So they can really differentiate when there's something wrong with the virtual desktop or with the connection itself. Okay, so the parameters. So there are a couple of things you can configure. Important to know is that there are two different warning displays. So there's a poor connection and there's a weak connection. You can configure the poor connection with two values, with two parameters. You can configure it with a poor bandwidth. That's like everything lower than this value will show a poor notification to the users. And everything with a poor latency threshold, so everything above this threshold, 150, will show a poor latency or high latency notification to the users. The same goes for the warning for the weak connection. So everything between the weak threshold, the weak bandwidth threshold, and the poor bandwidth threshold will show a weak connection to the user. And everything between the weak latency, 75, and 150 will show a relative high latency. So there can be something wrong with the user experience, but it doesn't have to be. Everything above or below will show a good connection. So you can configure these values. If you don't configure anything, it will use the default values. But here you can fine-tune it for your own environment, if that's needed. So you can also configure some other parameters. For example, the measure interval. That's the time interval that the thresholds are measured. So in the background, the information is collected and updated. And by default, that's done every 5 seconds. And here you can configure that interval. You can also turn on or off the notifications to the users. So by default, it's on. But if you don't want to display notifications, you can also turn it off. There's also the time to show notifications. That's the pop-up, the notification pop-up. By default, it's shown for 10 seconds, but you can also increase or lower that if you want to. There's also a time between notifications. So by default, when there's no change in the connection, there will be a notification displayed every hour to update the user about the connection. And you can also configure that interval. So when a connection state occurs, there will always be a connection update to the user, and then it will show it for every hour an update to the user. So you can configure it with that parameter. And you can also start by default the window in transparent mode. I will also show you in the demo how that looks like. So for example, you can see here on the left side the experience indicator.exe with two parameters. I'll also show you in the demo how you can configure the parameters. But like I said, you don't have to configure parameters at all if you just want to use these default values. Okay, so over to the first demo. That's a configuration example, how you can configure the tool. So in this demo, I will open the group policy management console, create a GPO, and just give it a name. For example, start a connection experience indicator. Then go to the Windows settings, scripts, logon scripts. But like I said, there are way other methods to launch login scripts, but this is one example. It's very easy to use. Click show files, then I go to the download folder. That's where I downloaded the tool. Like I said, just one executable. Then I will copy it to the group policy folder. And then I select it as a script name, experience indicator. So here you can configure the parameters if you want to. Just to give you an example, for bandwidth, for example, or something else. Okay, so for this demo, I don't configure any parameters, just click OK. Save the group policy. That's it. So now we have configured the experience indicator to run when the user logs in. Okay, now I will show you the second demo when a good connection is detected. So a user logs in to the virtual desktop and everything is working normally. So I log in with my test user on a WVD test environment, demo environment. Okay, so I've logged on my virtual desktop. You can see that there's a notification displayed to the user, good connection detected, there's enough bandwidth, the latency is low. Now a user can click on the icon and just move the window around. It will show real-time information about the connection, like the available bandwidth, the current bandwidth usage, and the latency. It will also show the virtual desktop name and the client name. And when you click on the small icon, it will duck to the taskbar again, so that it will be hidden. So that's how it looks like when everything is good. No problems at all. And now I will show you Another demo, when there's a weak connection detected. So I will log in to my virtual desktop again. As you can see, there's a notification displayed that the session is resumed. There's a good connection detected. And what I will do now is I will go to my client machine. Or first I will open the Edge browser to generate some traffic, some internet traffic. So now I will go to the client and I will go to my Wi-Fi control center. And in the Wi-Fi control center, I will lower my connection limit. So I will change it to 3 megabits per second. So it's applied. So there's now a connection limit in place. And now I will generate some traffic, like scrolling over the internet or doing something else. As you can see, there will be a notification now. There's a weak connection detected and that the quality and user experience might be reduced. So when I click on the icon, I can see that there's pretty low bandwidth, and it will show a warning to the user like, yeah, there might be something wrong now with your connection. Okay, and let's go to the next demo. When there's a poor connection detected, so when things goes worse. So in this demo, I will limit the Wi-Fi connection to 1 megabit per second. Now we'll go back to the virtual desktop. Just browse over the internet. Like you can see, the RDP protocol is now doing also, yeah, you can see a notification that there's a poor connection. You can also see that the RDP protocol is doing a high compression, and the low bandwidth is also causing a higher latency, like you can see on the screen. And you can see the RDP protocol is doing a higher compression on the images to keep up with the low bandwidth and the high latency. So this will show the user that the user experience is now affected. So you can see it when scrolling, you can see that there's something wrong and the user might get to a better connection or change something to make their connection work better. So that were the demos. So where can you get it? It's like I said, it's a free tool. You can download it from my blog site. Above you can see the URL. I'm working on multi-language support. Like you can see in the demos now, the notifications are in English. In the next version, you can also configure multiple languages. You can modify the notification text by yourself. Yeah, for companies that want a supported version, it's also possible to get a company license through the Remote Display Analyzer program, company license program, for companies that want a supported version, because it's now a free tool, community tool, and for companies that want a supported version, that's also possible. Well, thank you very much for watching, and have a great event. Thank you very much. See ya.